This podcast is sponsored by nobody. Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror and sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now today I will be welcoming back the gorgeous and talented Paige Price. You all remember Paige? I had her on around Thanksgiving time last year for the 40th anniversary of All the Right Moves with Tom Cruise. And she was also in the slasher classic Silent Madness, celebrating its 40th anniversary this year. And she was in the New Kids with the movie that Sean S. Cunningham made. And I'm going to have her back on, and we are going to nerd out on the entertainment of our youth, talking about film, television, and music. And it's going to be another pleasant conversation. Paige is really sweet, friendly, loves people, and she's awesome. And it's going to be great talking with her today again. And it's Friday the 13th. I tried to get a Friday the 13th guest to come on, but God, I am so tapped out on Friday the 13th guests. I have pretty much squeezed the franchise dry. There's several people I want that are remaining from the movies that I can't get because I can't make the connection, but hopefully I will in 2025. You know, I mean, at least, at least Paige was in, was in Silent Madness, another slasher teen movie. So it's the next best thing. But I will still go, I mean, it's only natural, right? So yeah, here is my new interview with Paige Price. So, going back in time, do you remember the first movie that impacted you as a child?
It was Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
A lot of people have told me that. What was it about it that you liked?
Well, I'm not. I love the magic in it, but
Hmm.
really the takeaway was the kids in the dungeon
Hmm.
gave me nightmares.
Yeah, that's pretty scary. Yeah, Back to the Future was the first one that had an impact on me. My parents used to let me look at their yearbooks, and I always had that fantasy of going back in time and seeing them in high school and finding out why they're so fucked up and why I'm so fucked up, you know? So,
Yeah, and my dad took me to The Exorcist, which I loved because nobody in the family liked horror movies except me.
mhm.
And so when I saw The Exorcist, I just thought it was the most scary, amazing thing ever. And I actually named my cat that I got in was it maybe eighth grade, Reagan, after the little girl. And Reagan lasted for 22 years. That cat.
Wow, 22 years. I hope my cats last that long. I love them that much. Yeah, I've always gravitated toward horror and comedy. My parents showed me The Shining when I was one, and oh my God, I was scared of it. But I went back and rewatched it when I was seven, and I saw it wasn't that as bad as I remembered. So it became my go-to horror movie every year at Halloween time.
That's funny.
Yeah, I've always been advanced. But yeah, I'm sure you remember like when movies like Night of the Living Dead came out in Halloween. I mean, in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, they were all game changers.
Yeah, and I remember even backing up before that, seeing the Blob uh, before that, which is now you look at it and it's kind of hilariously low tech, but I
Mhm.
was always amazed by what they did in those and the slashers. I really, after the New Kids too, I felt like I got to join the pantheon of having
Yeah,
two of those in the can.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, oh my God, the Blob. They did a sequel in the early '70s that Larry Hagman directed with Cindy Williams, and she used to joke about how bad it was. She's like, yeah, when I'm getting eaten by the Blob, what I'm doing is I'm getting sucked out of a pipe in Burbank.
Uh, oh yeah, I would I would love to see the behind the scenes of that.
Yeah. And of course, they did the remake in the late '80s, um, which was okay, but it wasn't super great.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I mean, horror. I mean, I love, slashers. I love supernaturals, zombies, werewolves, vampires. I love pretty much every subgenre of horror. Are there subgenres you like or dislike?
Funny enough, I don't really care for zombies, and
Hmm.
but so I was a little bit not sure if I was going to watch The Last of Us, and of course I'm just completely obsessed.
Yeah.
Um, because it's not really about zombies. That show is just so much deeper. It delivers so much more. But yeah, I think the subgenres as I've gotten older and sort of more politically involved, believe it or not, is more documentary nonfiction kind of things, which is the kind of the exact opposite. Yeah, so I'm sort of obsessed by even podcasts of true stories and mysteries and unlocking the unexplainable. So I guess it's maybe just a different subgenre of um,
Yeah.
mystery, and yeah, I think that's sort of the last like 5 years.
Well, it's ironic that you did like zombies because when George Romero was doing the zombie movies, he was being political and socially aware with them. He was like, saying this is the reflection of our society.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
I know, but I can understand why certain people don't like the zombie movies because the zombies just move so slow, and all people are doing is just running away from them or shooting them, and there's like really nowhere else to go with them.
Yeah, yeah. Although I will say that I think the if we're calling them zombies in The Last of Us, I think that they really have nailed like a most extraordinary version of zombies that
Hmm.
is truly terrifying. So I would give them huge props.
Was horror the genre that you gravitated toward the most growing up?
No, no, I don't think so. I mean, I had so little time to watch anything or even go to the movies because I was always in some sort of class or
Hmm.
rehearsal, from the time I was 11. So I really didn't, I guess if I had to say anything, it would have been like movie musicals, to be honest. But yeah, I didn't have a lot of time to watch all that stuff. And like I said, if my dad wanted to go see a horror film, nobody in the family would go. So he and I would go to see those things.
Oh, yeah. Movie going to the movies was me and my dad's thing. I mean, my mom and I would go too, but it was like me and my dad's thing. We would just go to the drive-in and just enjoy it. Sometimes we'd go to the theater, if something wasn't playing at the drive-in. Um, what kind of comedy movies did you like growing up?
Well, I certainly, couldn't help loving a rom com. I guess that was probably when I started to get a little bit older, like when I was in my 20s, the Meg Ryans and or even before that, the Breakfast Clubs and
Oh,
all of those kind of movies. It's pretty mainstream. I think my tastes were pretty mainstream.
I love romantic comedies. My favorite romantic comedy is Annie Hall.
And I think I told you about my cousin being a horror writer. So he was the other one that was obsessed with horror in the family.
Yeah. I also love Mel Brooks movies.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, Blazing Saddles, Young Frankenstein, High Anxiety, Silent Movie, History of the World Part 1. Those really early edgy ones.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, those are awesome. Blake Edwards movies like the Pink Panther movies.
A little bit. I liked the music from it,
Yeah,
and the style of it.
yeah,
That was much more my brother's jam.
yeah. That Henry Mancini, that music. You know, I mean, it's hard to say, but without that music, I don't think those movies would be anything.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, that music is an institution in and of itself. It's so legendary.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I love the old comedy teams like the Marx Brothers and Laurel and Hardy and Martin and Lewis and stuff.
Yes. You sound like you have exact taste of my brother. You guys would jam on the same kind of stuff.
Really?
What got you into movies?
I was born in utero, loving movies. Um, my mom works for the cable company. Uh, my grandmother and I we used to watch the old black and whites when TNT was first launched. We took regular trips to the video store, the movie theater, and stuff. It's always been a part of me. You know, I'm a latchkey kid.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Did you have any movie crushes?
Well, I think probably Patrick Swayze would have had to be one of them.
Hmm.
Between Dirty Dancing and Ghost, I think he was pretty much, and also because he was a dancer, so I related to that. Um, I think I had a little bit of a thing for Rob Lowe. Uh-huh.
Hmm.
Um, and then I also think that I remember thinking about there was something about Michael Fox that I
Yeah.
liked because he was just sort of sassy and funny. So I think you're comedic leading men. Well, I guess Patrick Swayze wasn't really comedic, but I definitely liked the sassy ones.
Yeah, did you ever get to meet any of those guys?
I got to hang out with Rob Lowe. Well, yeah. So after I did all the right moves, we had to do some looping. I had to go to California to do that. So I ended up staying with Chris Penn, rest in peace,
Yeah.
at his family's home. So Sean was no longer living there, but they had a big pool, and of course they lived next to the Sheens. So
Yeah.
Charlie Sheen and Emilio Estevez and a whole bunch of sort of that group was at a party, including Rob Lowe, that like a pool party during the day, and I was just like stammering like an idiot
Yeah.
because it's like all these famous people and me, and I just felt completely out of place.
Oh my God, that is so awesome. Yeah, it's crazy how everybody knew each other back then. It was such a small world.
Yeah, yeah.
There was no internet. But yeah, I always loved Michael J. Fox. He was a hero of mine when I was a kid, watching Back to the Future and Teen Wolf, and I watched Family Ties every week. Yeah, I
Oh
to
yeah.
I totally relate. Yeah, my crushes were like Cary Grant and Natalie Wood and any 80s movie actress that I interviewed later and became friends with, like yourself.
Oh, cool, cool.
you
Yeah,
know,
that's cool.
yeah. Uh, did, did you ever go to the drive-in?
Oh yeah, yeah. And matter of fact, there's still a drive-in near in upstate New York that we go
Mm-hmm.
to every once in a while. And there was one on the Cape. Cape Cod still has one, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we would go as a family. We would get a bucket of Kentucky Fried Chicken
Ah,
and bottles of Coke and just go watch movies. We actually had a convertible at one point that my
mm-hmm.
dad got. Just I think he literally won it in a bet, so that tells you something about my dad. And so we had this convertible for a while, and in the summer we would go to drive-ins, and it was just a big part of my childhood.
Yeah. Oh, one time, um, I don't know how we managed this. Well, we couldn't afford popcorn, so we got a paper bag and we loaded up our own popcorn that we made at home and brought it with us. And that's the only time we ever did that.
Oh yeah, we used to do that, try to get away with it. there was a theater in Bound New Jersey, where it was where my mother used to go to the movies every Friday. She and her friends and cousins used to go every single Friday. And then when I grew up, um, I think I know I remember seeing. My mother will remember. Oh! It's on the tip of my tongue. It was a Disney movie. I'll have to ask her over the holidays. But I remember doing somersaults down the aisle of the theater, which is, you think about it now, is so disgusting. But I remember doing somersaults down the aisle, and we used to go there all the time. And they recently turned it into uh, a theater. They're trying to do like theatrical events there, but everybody has those old theaters in their hometowns that
Yeah,
sort of fell out of fashion.
yeah.
But I do remember going there all the time as a kid.
No wonder you were cast as a cheerleader.
Oh yeah, yeah. The gymnastics were real.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, when I was two, my parents started taking me to drive-in. They took me to see Weird Science and Rambo 2 on a double bill in the summer of '85. And I remember it because, you always remember your destiny, like early on. It's always the only thing you remember is the things that set you up for your future.
Right, right. What a weird double bill.
Well, okay, so Word Science had just come out. It was the first movie, and Rambo 2 had been out for months, and it was a huge hit. So that was the drive-in double bill at that time. And there was a period where my parents stopped taking me to the drive-in when I was about three or so, 3.5, because I was always falling asleep in the back seat or getting out of the car and knocking on windshields.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so getting into television, like, did you watch all the traditional sitcoms and stuff?
We did. I mean, I remember when I was really young going every, Sunday to my grandmother's house for supper, and then we would watch, it was the big Disney night. So we would watch the animal show before the Wild Kingdom,
Oh yeah.
and then we would watch um the Disney on Sunday nights. And then, as I got older, we went into the Friday night groupings of Partridge Family and Brady Bunch. And then you move into the must see TV. Was like
Yeah.
Thursday nights became the deal with Friends and all of those series. So yeah, yeah, television. Once I got older, I definitely moved into the those lineups where they would just group them together. And then when I got older, then I'd go do when I was doing shows, I would get home and watch the guys, I called it. Then I moved into more of the like Jon Stewart and Stephen Colbert world.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up on, watching all the sitcoms of my generation, Family Ties, Facts of Life, Give Me a Break, Full House, Seinfeld, Family Matters, Step by Step, shows like that. But I also watched the stuff that my parents grew up on, the Munsters, Addams Family, Hogan's Heroes, Get Smart, Green Acres, Leave It to Beaver.
Oh my God, you have the encyclopedic memory. But you did make me remember MASH. MASH was huge in
Oh,
my family.
MASH was huge in my family as well. I've seen literally every episode many, many times, and every time I watch it, I am still just enthralled by it because it was a moment in television history you could not repeat today.
Right, right.
I mean, that last episode was weird. I mean, 15 million people tuned in to watch it. I mean, a lot of people were left dumbfounded by Hawkeye ending up in an institution. you know, and then, but at least
Yeah.
at least he got out, and he got to say goodbye to everybody, which was really sad. It was like the Mary Tyler Moore show's finale. It was really emotional, you know.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure
What do you
you're.
watch now?
Now, I spend all my time podcasting, listening to podcasts, going back and watching favorite movies and old TV shows, and occasionally I'll tune into something new if I know somebody that's in it, but like I rarely ever watch new stuff, you know. Uh,
Yeah, that makes sense. It's so disparate now. It's not like everybody's, the monoculture's gone. So people just get their you can literally find your sliver of thing that you like and just concentrate on that.
I mean, I'll watch Cobra Kai, and this is the last season of it, sadly, but I watched it from start to finish because I was just curious to see the drama unfolding of Daniel and Johnny because, I always wanted to see those two characters make up, and they just keep making up and becoming enemies again every season, and it's kind of getting repetitive. I hope by the end of this final season, they'll go their own way, or they'll become friends permanently and just not worry about stupid shit.
Yeah.
I like to see that. Um
Yeah.
yeah, so did you get to stay up late on like maybe Friday night and watch the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. The variety shows were also they were a big draw for me because it gave me such a window onto the world of entertainment, and
Hmm.
I was the only one in my family who was really interested in like Broadway and
Yeah.
those kind of stars that would be on those shows. So yeah, that was really formative. And if I'm going to tell you the truth, when I was in high school, well, actually started in middle school, I
Hmm.
was terribly bullied
Oh.
by other girls, and so one of the things that got me through was, you know what? Someday I'm going to be a star, and I'm going to be on Johnny Carson, and I'm going to call them all out, which of course is a little deranged but that's what kept me going. I
Oh,
was
I
like,
said
someday I'm going to be on Johnny Carson.
I said the same thing. I was like, I'm going to be on Letterman and Leno and do that.
Yep. And I did end up getting on Letterman. That was one of my first jobs in college, actually.
Oh,
Um,
I didn't know
now,
that.
granted, I played a prize you could win on Dave's Wheel of Fortune, so it wasn't really something I was going to point to as a pinnacle of my career. But
Oh my God, I did not know that about you. What? So it was like when the show first started?
yeah, it was early on. It was at the first. It was not. Where is it now? Did it end up at NBC? Wherever it was first.
I think
That's when I
yeah,
did it,
Rockefeller
and I
Center.
yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, the episode that I did, I literally played, he had a Wheel of Fortune, and I played a girl who was in a green bikini and white pumps with a beach ball. And, can't really do that today. And even then, he said to me, like, you're a good sport for doing this. But, I was in college and I made money doing it. And, it was a little less, we weren't really worried about PC things as much back then. But
No.
the the remarkable thing about that episode is when I was in the green room waiting to go on with somebody else from the show, Hank Stram, who is no longer with us, but he was a big football coach at the time. And
Hmm.
we saw this guy like run through the green room, and he ran onto the stage during Dave's opening monologue. And this
Yeah.
guy had a briefcase with him. And so nobody knew what was happening. The minute he hit the stage and started talking to Dave, security ran in and grabbed him. And it was like scary. Um, and it turned out that it was like this stalker guy that had a problem with something David said in a monologue at some point, and
Hmm.
he was from Maryland, and all to say that David had to start the monologue over again, and it was a really sort of charged day on set because of this guy had just like gotten through security somehow and breached the set. So that's my memory of being on David Letterman.
Oh man. Yeah, I talked to an actress recently, Susan Marie Snyder. She was also on Letterman doing sketches around that same time, and she worked with Chris Elliott and Larry Bud Melman and stuff. So, yeah,
Wow.
that's crazy. Did you have did you watch like children's programming like Schoolhouse Rock or Romper Room or Electric Company?
Yes, 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 and Zoom.
Zoom. I've only become aware of that show the last few years. I was watching. I was looking on the website for ChillerCon, and it said the cast of Zoom, and I was like, what's Zoom? I know Zoom now, but like, what was Zoom? And then I did my research, and I was like, wow, I didn't even know there was a show called Zoom for kids back in the day. Did you watch?
Yeah, yeah.
Did you watch The Magic Garden?
I did not.
That was an East Coast syndicated show. It was where two hippie women are like talking to puppets and stuff. And I interviewed one of them. She's a very famous stage actress, Carol Demas.
Oh, I don't think I watched that one.
Yeah, and you could go on YouTube. They have some episodes, and it was pretty fun. It was pretty funny, and it's funny. You look at the two of them, Carol Demas and Paula Janis, and you can tell they're best friends because they were, and they still are, and it's like. Oh my God! You can imagine. You see them talking G-rated here, but you can imagine them just. Oh my God, having locker room talk afterwards. They just have that edge about them.
Right, right, right.
You know.
I'll have to look that up. I wonder if it's are there still
Yeah.
does any of that still live on YouTube, or where do you find that stuff now?
No, the Magic Garden is on YouTube. Some episodes, I'm sure. I've seen a few. Like, do you remember Lancelot Link?
Oh yeah. Oh my God, you're just like throwing me back.
I watched that. It was on Nick at Night when I was like 4 or 5 years old, and they would show it before episodes of the Monkeys. So I got two types of monkeys like every night, and I just thought it was a really funny show. You know, if they had that show nowadays, it'd probably be like CGI monkeys because there's no way they would get live monkeys to do that stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I don't think what was I going to say? Um, oh yeah, monkeys. That was another one. That was another one of my favorites. Now that you mention it.
Oh yeah, I had a huge crush on Davy. He was a real cutie, and I got to see the Monkees perform in 1997 at Candlestick Park before a Giants game. They went out there, they did 10 songs, and then they drove off the field in a Cadillac.
Oh wow.
There's only three of them. But, Michael wasn't there because he would do that sometimes, you know. Did you watch the Cross Brothers shows?
Oh God, those are like with the Snuffleupagus
No, that's
that one.
Sesame Street. That's Sesame Street.
Oh
No,
no, what is the one with the?
HR Puff
Tell
and
me.
stuff.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. HR Puff and stuff. Yeah, I can picture him.
I saw I
Oh
saw
yeah.
I saw the HR Puff and Stuff movie that came out in 1970, not too long ago, because I interviewed Sid Croft, and uh, Mama Cass Elliot is in it. She plays a witch.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, now I'm remembering like the Saturday morning programming. That was also a big deal.
yeah. There's Romper Room and stuff like that, and Sesame Street, Mister Rogers, which played in my generation as well. It was those shows were on forever, and like Sesame Street still is on, which is crazy. 55, 56 years now. It's crazy how long that show has lasted.
Yeah, yeah. Oh wow. I'm feeling old. I'm feeling old.
I was a big I Dream of Jeannie kid. They shot I think two versions of the pilot because her belly button showed in the first one, and that was controversial in 1965. So 2 years later, Gene Roddenberry broke that rule on Star Trek. He had Barbara Luna and Nichelle Nichols show both of their belly buttons, and I've talked to Barbara Luna about it. And about, I don't know, 5, 6 years later, Roddenberry did another pilot called Genesis 2, where Marion Hartley had two belly buttons.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he was ahead of his time, I'll tell you, real ahead of his time. So
Yeah.
getting into music, do you remember the first album you ever bought with your own money or was given to you?
Yes, I bought I bought the Carpenters and Donny Osmond.
Love it.
I got Christmas money and I bought those two things, and then I wanted to buy there was a song called Those Were the Days by
Hmm. Ronstadt?
Linda, I'm not gonna remember.
Ronstadt?
I have to look it up.
Was it Linda
But
Ronstadt?
the long no,
Hmm.
I'm gonna look it up. Because those were the days, my friend, we thought they'd never end. Mary Hopkin. And I went to the
Okay.
store and I was like, I want this little record. And I was so excited. I bought the 45 and I came home and I put it on the record player and it was like, boy, the way Glenn Miller played. It was from All in the Family.
All in the Family, yeah.
And they said Carol O'Connor. And I was like, oh, that sounds right, because I thought Carol was a woman.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Oh, that's
that
funny.
record.
Yeah, my parents had a big old box of vinyl records.
Oh, did I
The
lose you?
they had the, hello.
Oh, there you are.
They had the Beatles, the Stones, Fleetwood Mac, Carole King's Tapestry. They loved Foreigner and Captain Beefheart. Very eclectic tastes. Rod Stewart, all that stuff. Rod Stewart was huge in the 70s.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember that.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, but I have to go. I'm supposed to be on a Zoom at 2 o'clock. I thought we were doing a half hour, so I hope
Oh,
I gave you all that we promised, but I have a Zoom meeting.
oh, that's perfectly fine. I just wanted to ask you really quick. How did your Steel Magnolias play go this past spring?
Oh, it went so great. It went so great. We got great reviews across the board. And I'm now currently up for an award on BroadwayWorld.com. So if you go to BroadwayWorld.com and look for the St. Louis area theaters, you can vote for me there, even if you didn't see it.
Love
But
it.
yeah, I had a great time. The cast was fantastic.
Oh, that's so awesome. Paige, thanks so much for coming back on and nerding out with me for a little bit today. And last year, we did this just before Thanksgiving. Now we're doing it just before Christmas. Maybe next year before Halloween, we could do one where we tell theater stories. I've got some body toe curlers about working in theater backstage, I'll tell you.
Oh, that's funny. I'm here for it. Great.
Awesome. You have a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, and be safe.
Thank you. You too. Take care.
Take care. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Well, there you have it. Paige Price, ain't she a sweetheart? Wow, I didn't know that we were going to be only talking for a short time there and stuff, but wow, right when we got into music, next thing you know, she had to go, and I hope she really had to go and stuff because I really wanted to get into the music and I wanted to ask her about her favorite Christmas movies and TV shows and stuff, but unfortunately time was a factor and we couldn't do it, but it was a really interesting short talk here and I appreciate Paige so much and it was great to talk to her even if it was a very brief time and I adore her. Well, until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying there's no shame in living in the past because the present sucks. Later, dudes.